We're back, everybody. This is Life with Willie and Renee. And today we're going to talk about the things that we watched on television this week. This is interesting for me because I was never a television watcher, and television just wasn't my thing. I was just a reader all the time. And now, since I'm married to Willie and he likes television and he watches such interesting stuff, it has made me like, well, I want to watch it. And child, I've been watching everything. If I'm not doing work and cooking, cleaning or whatever, I'm like, ooh, what I'm gonna watch? I'm gonna tell you, but I'm gonna let him talk first, and then I'm gonna tell you what I've been watching too. We'll go back and forth. How's that? Okay, well, what we watch. Okay, go, Willie.
Well, for me, one of the shows that I have started watching recently is called African Village.
Mm.
And it's interesting because it shows the daily life of a family in Africa that's out in the bush, sort of, and they're in the process of building their home. And then it shows them sitting around fixing meals and cooking and so forth. It's interesting because one, I'm sitting there keep watching it and they don't do a lot of talking.
No.
And then
then they're talking whatever language.
yeah,
they
they're
talk, we don't
talking
understand.
yeah, Swahili or something like that. But also it's their cooking in their cooking is I think it's similar to some things that I watch every now and then on YouTube about different mountain people or cave people or just people out here in the US, just in general, or Caribbean, fixing meals out of some of the same stuff and some of the same ways that they do it. But to them, they have it a different name or they fix it maybe a little bit different ways, but not so much. But I still watch them and don't hardly understand any of it, but it's interesting
Yeah.
to look at them and their family interact and so forth.
And the whole little village.
So
And that's sort of something we like to watch in the evening together. It's relaxing. After all day, we sort of, you ready to watch African Village, and we'll check it out to see because they don't come on every day. And so we're like, ooh, are they on today? Yes. And we just like watching them. And like he said, it's so cool because a lot of things that we think is just indicative to us, we find out, in this little remote village, which is back in the bush, like he says, and all of their cooking is done outside. They sit on the ground all the time, doing whatever. But, it's a lot of the same things. It's a little bit different, but they may call it different. But we're like, oh, we had that at a Mediterranean place, or that's how you make it, in the Caribbean or whatever. It's really interesting. So shout out to them. We like them. Okay, my turn. Huh? I'll tell you what I've been watching. And I act like it's a brand new show because in a lot of ways, to me, it is. And that's Scandal. Oh my. Okay. I remember when it came on before, it was a long time ago, it came on, and I may have watched one or two episodes, whatever. And I thought, okay, it's scandalous. That's more what I thought about it. And, I watched a little bit here and there, but, I never really watched it. And I don't know I know is I read something online about it, and how politically correct a lot of it was. And it made me interested. And now I am stuck, honey, on Scandal because it's like Shonda Rhimes is the executive producer and writer or whatever. It's like she's a prophet or something because a lot of the stuff we're actually experiencing, or we can surmise that we're experiencing in the government anyway. I was like, girl, get out. Yes, yes. And some of it is like right on point, And so I'm enjoying watching that, And it's brand new, like I say to me and my husband. And one of our daughters said they never missed an episode. They watched all of it. before and how great it was. But me, I'm behind the times. I still think some of the Andy Griffith shows are new, and they've been rerun since the 60s. So, but I'm enjoying Scandal. Okay, what do you have next?
Well, I could say it's been one of my favorite shows for years. Even when I was in college back in the early 80s, I remember that I used to go to the student center each day during lunchtime. And that place used to be packed with people there watching Young and the Restless. And it's interesting because I never thought that it was something that, I would continue on watching. I used to go because it was so many people there. And then it got sort of interesting. But now as I've gotten older, and especially after retirement, and each day I'm sitting at home and thinking of doing something, I try to look at the clock and make sure that I'm mindful of when Young and Restless is on. And nowadays it is so interesting, and I keep looking and even though it is strange, but my mom, I go over and sit with her, and she says, "Oh well, they're not going to do anything to Victor." Or, "Can you believe now they have people back that have been there years and years ago? They're back on the show now, coming as being a villain or something like that." So I'm sitting there watching, trying to see, well, what are they going to do? What is Victor going to do to them? Nobody can mess with Victor. But Young and Restless is one of those shows where I feel like if I miss it, I'm missing something. And so I even paid the subscription to get Paramount Plus in order so I can watch it in the evening time. If I miss it, it comes on again in the evening time, but on Paramount Plus. And even sometimes I sit and look for it on YouTube.
You record it?
Yeah, and I record it. But I look at the highlights or the coming attractions on YouTube to see,
I at least know that much.
to see what they're gonna do or what they're thinking that they may do. But I really, really enjoy watching Young and Restless, and so that's one of the things I can say now. When it comes down to retirement and getting a job or doing something part time, it's almost like I want to make sure that I have my free time so I can watch Young and Restless. What if I want to do?
What's fun about that is I never watch soaps. I'm not interested. I always say I give you 2 hours, you live happily ever after, or you die. That's it. But I love that he watches it. First of all, that's something that he and his mom share that I think is so special. He goes over there, and gets her mail and does all kinds of other errands that she may want. And then that's their time together, and I very rarely go over there. And if I do during that time, that 12:30, 1:30 or whatever, I don't say nothing because I know that's their time. Okay. And I just love that for them. And I know a few of the things about it, or whatever. But I think what makes it so interesting for me with him watching The Young and Restless, because it's such a contradiction to all the other stuff that he watches. He's a news fanatic, and he watches all kind of serious things. He watches lots of documentaries, Black history stuff, just history in general. He studies all different other nations and, all of those kinds of things, and then Young and the Restless, it's like that's on a whole different spectrum. And I love it because, anything I want to know about what's going on in the news or in the world or what this country is, he can tell you, oh, this country is this and their favorite foods or this, that, and the other, and they speak this language. He watches all of those kinds of interesting things, and then he watches The Young and the Restless. I think that's a cool balance, and I like that. One thing that I do watch, it's not a television show, okay? Let me tell you, all right? But I think of it as a television show, is I love watching The Fireplace, or The Aquarium. Have y'all seen that on television, right? On YouTube, where it's just a fireplace, you know. Like I said, it's not a show. And my husband, when he comes in, he's like, "Yeah, okay, we're just this is all we're gonna watch on there." Yes, it's so great, and it sits an ambiance and all that, and then we can watch all the underground, underwater things, And so I watched that or classical
Or
music.
you watch somebody hands cooking, fixing food.
Right, right, yeah, and where you can't even see their faces or anything. They don't say anything. They're just chopping up cabbage, and all those different kinds of things. And he has watched some of that with me. He'll watch it with me. He ain't gonna never watch that by himself. And my all-time favorite, okay, two things are my all-time favorite shows. The first one is the Andy Griffith Show. I probably can quote it verbatim. As a kid, I wasn't raised with a television. And then I went to boarding school, and then I went to boarding college, all of those. So all those old shows I never saw. And when I saw the Andy Griffith Show for the first time, I probably was like, well, I know I was grown and had kids in it. So I was probably like 25 or 30 years old when I first saw it. And I was like, this is the coolest show. I just love Barney Fife and all that. And everybody's like, dude, like, what? And I used to have a black and white television. And my kids would tease me all the time because it was like, well, you don't even need a color television because everything you watch is in black and white anyway. So it doesn't even matter. So they actually bought me my first black and white television, I mean, color television for my birthday because I was fine. I had never seen it. So I was good. And then the other thing I like a lot is I love British shows. I watch a lot of British television. Their humor is just really smart, and they're just really funny or really engaging, all of that. I watched the Great British Baking Show. Yes, I love that. uh, Up All Night, and all different kinds of, the real actual Sherlock Holmes from there. All of those shows I love to watch. Called The Midwife, all those foreign shows. I watch a lot of those. And so, television has become really interesting to me. And I'm just always like amazed. Like, honey, let me tell you, I saw this. And he's just like, oh, okay, that's nice, And him, growing up, he worked so much, worked all the time, work until he always liked television from informational, I would say, more type things than just television shows per se. He liked all, he was going to keep up with what was going on in the world and all of that. And so now that we are retired, he can sit, for a few hours and watch, Meet the Press and whatever, and news from all these different places in the world where you can't even really understand what they're saying, but he understands it. Let's get this point of view and that. And so I love that for him, that he's able to sit and watch, and whenever I used to watch anything, I never sat down. I would watch this and then I'm doing this, that, and the other, or whatever. And so he would tell me, why don't you just sit down? Be still sometimes, sit down.
Mhm.
And my kids were like, do you ever watch? I love movies. I would sit and watch that, But now I'm actually sitting and just holding my hands and, doing videos and things like that. And when I'm not, or that's a reward for me, like, okay, yes, once I finish this, then I'm going to sit and watch an episode of Scandal. Yes, that's it. So, yeah, that's just to get to know us a little bit. Tell us what shows you like and what things you watch, and maybe even some of the things that we suggested, look at them, try them out, see what's happening on Young and the Restless and Soap Dirt, right? And you occasionally watch Bold and Beautiful because it just comes on. Yes, because it comes on after Young and Restless. But yes, The African Village, watch it. Tell us what you think. And then subscribe to us. Honey, we talk about everything. It's just life with us. Willie and Renee. Okay, anything else before we go?
Please listen and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Okay.